Well, I think critical thinking is an essential skill to being successful in the world. And I had just become very disappointed in the level of critical thinking that was being done. In fact, I think in many courses, especially technical courses at Purdue, um, a lot of instructors, I think, insist that students do problems the way that they show them how to do them, and they're not real tolerant of alternative approaches. A lot of very technical topics that don't involve more complex issues outside of engineering do have single correct answers. So students kind of get in the habit of just seeking that right answer, and they don't do a lot of thinking about that. They just want to get the right answer and move on. Um, and that's not at all how real engineering is outside of the university. And I think we're doing a disservice to our students if we let them think that's true. So I did it for that reason. And also had become utterly miserable teaching this class. 100 students, just lecturing to them and not getting a lot of interaction, and really feeling like there wasn't enough learning going on. So just through very fortuitous events, I discovered impact, and my life has been changed ever since. So the class that I teach is a sustainable engineering class, and really big picture, it's about dealing with wicked problems. And wicked problems is a term you'll find in the literature. It's where technical issues are entangled with social, political, economic, cultural, all kinds of things, and they're very complicated. People don't even agree what the problem is. Typically, when we try to solve the problems, there are a lot of unintended outcomes, unanticipated consequences, so that we have to manage these problems on an ongoing basis. And they're very open-ended. There's no single correct answer. Never is a single correct answer. And students find these very frustrating, but these are in fact the kinds of problems that most students that are going to be working in human systems and engineering systems are going to really have to be dealing with, because seldom do you get a job where you get to just focus on technical issues. So we revised the class to make it really about critical thinking and information literacy, and the class has been reinvented. I started this in, I believe, 2011, so I've been at it for a while. Every single class period now involves some kind of active learning exercise activity in class. There are 100 students approximately every semester, so it's rather large.
Right.
Well, we do a lot of information literacy exercises where we actually go through a critical thinking process, and we start on the second day of the semester, and we never let up. And so we typically have students at the beginning of the semester, they'll do an information literacy exercise, and then they'll get some feedback on what are some of the broader issues they could have explored if they weren't so quick to try to leap to find the right answer. And because that's really what critical thinking is about, is really exploring all the dimensions of an issue so that you get a fuller grasp of the issue, and you can think more deeply about ways to manage problems. So another thing that we do, we have a really awesome library guide that the library set up for us, that Jeremy Garitano and Megan Sapp Nelson's taken that over now with Jeremy's departure. And we also allow collaboration between teams. In fact, we encourage it. And one of the things that we do with every team project is, at the conclusion of the project, we have 4 teams all working on essentially the same topic. And they meet together in class to share their answers. And they're always different. And so one of the things they have to do is figure out why they're different, and how could they assess a way to kind of come to some consensus of whether there's better sources of information or different ways to think about the problem. Why are the answers so different? So one of the things that we do every semester is, so just to back up, the projects are framed around working on cities because the world is undergoing urbanization at a tremendous rate, and the way to address sustainability most likely will be in urban areas. I mean, that seems to be what has the most potential for success. So one of the projects the students have to do is assess the water resources available for a city, and they have to do a water balance. How much water does the city take in? Where do they get it from? What do they use the water for? And then where does that water go? And they have to try to do a mass balance. What comes in has to equal what goes out, and it's very difficult because it's astonishing, but this information does not exist for cities. They just kind of assume that they're going to have sufficient water resources because they did last year, and they only deal with problems when there's a crisis, like there's a drought and there's a water shortage, or there's some contamination or something of that nature. So it's much deeper than just simply completing this water balance, but thinking about ways that then capacity could be added to the city by using water more intelligently or reusing water. So during this project, every day we're introducing different dimensions of water in the context of sustainability, and while outside of class they're working on their projects. So there's two or three challenges. One is, it takes effort to have a really awesome course that's very student-centered and involves a lot of active learning. So I would caution people who want to do this to do little chunks at a time, do one class at a time. I've reinvented my whole class from beginning to end, and it's taken, I think 7 times of teaching this class. And now I'm kind of on a second iteration. So do little bits at a time because it does take a lot of effort. The other challenge is, and I'm not so concerned with this challenge, is a very small percentage of the students, maybe 5, 6, 7%, will really withdraw from this type of class. They're so accustomed to sitting in the back row and not interacting with anyone. They just want you to open up their head and pour the knowledge in, and they're not really willing to engage. But that's a small minority, and there's ways to deal with those students. You can rotate the team sitting and get them up front so that you can talk to them and kind of get them going. I use peer teaching assistants, and we have strategies to engage some of these students. So the success part is you have a lot more fun. I mean, there's more days where you just walk out of the room thinking that was a really great class and I feel really good about what happened today, and you get a lot more positive feedback from the students that you really did engage, that really were touched by what happened or really felt like they did something meaningful. And so everybody likes to get those little notes and cards and things like that that says thank you, or we had fun today.